Hello and welcome to another live stream. I am XGW Caleb, and today we're gonna go through the 10, what I consider to be the 10 main Jehovah's Witness beliefs. Not only will we go through them, but we're gonna debunk them as well. And by the end, we're gonna figure out just what we can learn from all of these beliefs, because all of these beliefs have something in common. And I don't want to spoil it. But before we get into the topic, I want to introduce my friend, YouTube extraordinaire, in far more successful YouTuber, XJW YouTuber than me. Only XJW YouTuber. Like, we're pretty much unknown everywhere else. Jake from the ft.altworldly channel. I'll say hi, Jake, please.
Hi, Jake. How's it going?
Hi, Jake, please. I said.
Hi, Jake. Please, I say. No, thank you for having me.
Yeah, so I wanted to go through these 10 Jehovah's Witness core beliefs, because I don't know if you had this when you were believing Jehovah's Witnesses, but sometimes, like, people would ask me, hey, so why do Jehovah's Witnesses believe exactly? And then I'd be like, oh, we believe that God's name is Jehovah. And then,
Right.
I wouldn't really know what to say, because I feel like I never really learned exactly what my beliefs were, and I never really stopped to, like, consider what was the most important part of the beliefs, and what was the main beliefs that I was supposed to have. Do you have something like that, or was I just a bad student?
That both might be true, but I know what you mean. Like, back in our day, Danny, we couldn't just rely on the "What do Jehovah's Witnesses believe" video that I'm sure they have.
We couldn't say go to jw.org
right.
either.
These days, kids these days would just say go to our website. But I think I know what you mean, in that, like, it seems like mainstream Christians are more like, I believe that Jesus Christ is our Lord and Savior, and there's some, like, quick pithy thing that you can say. But Jehovah's Witnesses are more like, there's a bunch of individual beliefs that are really important. I guess I would say the
Yeah.
kingdom is what they would say their main belief is.
Yeah,
But
well, we'll get into it, because their beliefs are, well, they have several things in common. So shall we get into it? Let's just say hello to, oh, well, Alt Worley is in the chat. So say hello to Alt Worley from YouTube. And Alex is in the chat. And this comment is literally a hello. So, and Diana says, greetings from Pittsburgh, PA. Thank you so much. Now, let's just get into our little presentation, because Diana is saying hello. Emily is saying hello. Hello to everybody. I am so happy that everybody is here to examine the Jehovah's Witnesses beliefs. And we'll get into that right now. Now, this is one of the main Jehovah's Witnesses beliefs. I don't know how to put it, as you can tell. But I'm working on a video about this right now, so I don't really, we don't have to, like, go in depth on this. But Jehovah's Witnesses, a big part of Jehovah's Witnesses doctrine is that Jesus did not die in a cross, that Jesus died in a pole. They not only do they, it's very important, because it's not just like they're like, oh, it's just, we know this and that's it. But it is, the cross becomes almost like a signifier of evil religion. Like, I don't know if you had this with believing Jehovah's Witnesses, but I saw, like, Jehovah's Witnesses, like, removing crosses when they were, like, in hotels or in hospitals or stuff like that, and they had to stay there, and there was a cross, like, they would have to remove it, and they would be, like, almost allergic to the sight of the cross, because it's almost like a signifier, like, no, that cross, that signals bad religion. You have the right religion because you don't believe in a cross.
Yeah, a cross from where? Yeah, no, that's a good point. And I think this is important, in that one of the main tenets of their beliefs is just kind of contrarianism. In that, no, stop it. He's trying to knock over everything on the walls. Yeah, like, I forgot about that cultural aspect that you just brought up, where it's like, if you're in a hotel and there's a cross on the wall, we would sometimes, like, rent like a cabin to stay like a week at, by a
Mhm.
lake or something.
Of
And
course.
yeah, if they ever had like a cross or any other religious paraphernalia, we would take it down because almost in some symbolic way, or maybe in a literal way, it could bring demons in, but it's like offensive
Yeah.
to you. Like, oh, that is, and I remember that feeling like, oh, that cross, it's no good.
Yeah. You become superstitious about it.
Yeah.
But and
Yeah, you're right.
I wanted to add this. Go ahead.
Well, I like no, you're right. There is a superstitious element of it because the correct thing you would think that the logical conclusion, because yes, Jehovah's Witnesses are very persnickety on what they perceive as the correct translation of the word stauros, I think, which they insist does not mean two sticks, it means one stick. So
Exactly.
the entire iconography of Christianity they reject. And of course, they didn't always believe this. Their early publications had a cross on them, it had the cross and crown symbol.
Yeah, Russell
But they're
never
very
believed that, never
proud of
thought
the
that.
fact that they are willing to change their beliefs, which we'll get to later. So they like rejecting the cross for that reason, for the contrarian reason. And then that was a really long, windy up way to say the thing about superstition, which is like, it's not that they're just like, oh, yeah, the cross is not correct. It's like, it's correct and it's been used to desecrate true worship.
Yeah.
Therefore, being around it is kind of like being around something evil. So you have to
Yeah, they add more. It ends up being
avoid
a
it.
more significant symbol than the cross in normally.
Yeah.
Now, I wanted to
Oh,
add this because
yeah.
I wanted to add this into the core beliefs, because I believe the core beliefs have to be the beliefs that Jehovah's Witnesses cannot get rid of. And Jehovah's Witnesses have believed in like the in this almost um superstitious view of the cross, that they cannot go back to believing in a cross. They would not be able to. It would be considered almost apostatizing, because they've taught that apostates introduced the cross. So even though it is very unbiblical, again, I'm making a video about it, but basically they just rely on an etymological fallacy, right? That staudos meant Paul, just as oh, here's some bag of salt. This is salary. It's literally the same argument. But I feel like I wanted to like just include 10 beliefs that they literally cannot change, because other things, even like shunning, is part of it, but it may change, maybe, right? It may open a little bit. I think they may get rid of shunning before they get rid of the pole, and is not a cross. Don't you think?
Yeah, I think you're onto something there in terms of like their Jehovah's Witnesses pride themselves on like, when we find the correct understanding, we change it. But that's not quite what happens. Like sometimes they do feel like, oh, we have studied the scriptures further and found this. But usually it's just some little flip flop on some doctrinal point that doesn't really change the image of the religion or anything super important. Like it doesn't remove a main pillar of their beliefs or anything that they stake their brand on.
Exactly.
And I think you're right in
Exactly.
that, like, they've made rejecting the cross so important that, like, it's way more important than something like who dies when during the Great Tribulation. So that they can flip
Yes.
flop on. But this is really important. And I don't know. I think that shunning, just because there's legal consequences to it potentially with what's going on in Norway, you're
Yeah.
right. I guess they're more likely to change it. But I think that's a similar thing where they're like, we swerved so hard in the direction of this is what the Bible says, and like the entire culture of the religion's based around it. That I don't. Yeah, I think you're right. I don't think they would ever flip flop on this.
Yeah, I think it'll be extremely hard, because I don't think they could flip flop on this and then just start getting like using the cross. Even though, damn it, do I have the T-shirt around here? No, I left it on the. I'm gonna use a T-shirt. I got a T-shirt from my own shop that I'm gonna use
Oh,
for the video. With that is just a cross
Staying
with
fresh.
jw.org. Yeah, if I wanted to show it, but it's in the other room, so it doesn't matter.
Christina's asked if
So
it's DJ Danny Fresh, which I think is a pretty good name for a store.
that would be a good name. Anyway, I think that's that's it with the cross. Obviously, it's completely anti-biblical. I'll make a video about it, but basically anti. If you want to know like the main ways why we know that it's anti-biblical, we do have back in the 50s we found early papyri from early copies from the Gospels from the year to from the beginning of the 2nd century. And they found that Stauros had been abbreviated to have the Tauros, which is like a T, and the P word. They have been welded together to become a cross shape. Stauros was literally abbreviated all the way back to like the 2nd century as the shape that it was supposed to be, and it was supposed to be a cross. And it makes sense if you read the biblical narrative, because in the biblical narrative it says that the thing that was hung that said that Jesus King of the Jews, it was hung on on top of his head, not on top of his hands, obviously. And it just by the amount that Jesus took to die, Jesus took like what, a couple of days or something. And if you hang somebody like this, like on a straight pole, they usually die like in a couple of hours. Now you can say Jesus was perfect, but the people who were around Jesus also died. It took a couple of days to die. Yeah, because some people may say that, but we know for multiple ways that when the Bible says that Jesus was put like on a pole, on a stauros, it's supposed to mean a cross. But again, Jehovah's Witnesses, this is a core belief, because I don't see Jehovah's Witnesses ever being able to get rid of this. This is, for better or for worse, this is a core doctrine that they just cannot flip-flop on this again.
Well, can I say one last thing on this? Yes. Because you reminded me when you said that I actually was wondering, just so I can remain consistent in things that I have said on the internet. I'm remembering that I think I was wondering if they were going to change the pole versus cross, which, by the way, I don't even think we've said the word, but witnesses call it a torture stake.
Oh yes,
it's a stake, but there's certain pictures, the more recent pictures that they put out, and I'm pretty sure that the memorial video that they show, you can really see it if you wanted to pull it up. But
what? Yes,
they have the sign.
I'll look it up.
They have the sign above Jesus, and it just looks like a cross. And I think I had just never realized that before, that they always avoided portraying that. Because when you do, it is obviously an upright pole and a vertical part. And so it looks like a cross.
I can't find. Oh, wait. Yeah. Okay. I think. Oh, I was supposed to show a video before every part. And I forgot to show the video for this. So let me just show the video for this.
Way to go!
And I told you, so you also forgot. I'm making you share the blame.
I'm complicit. Look at it. Look at that. That's just a cross.
Yes, it is kind of like a cross. Let's just hear what they have to say about why Jesus. Can we see the? It's not working. See, this is why I didn't show it. I didn't show it on purpose.
Your internet's also a little slow. You've been kind of skippy.
Yeah, I know. I've been having issues with my cable. Yeah, I resetted my modem 3 times, and I called my cable company several times. It's a bad thing. Hold on. Is this the one that I wanted to show you? Let me just check. I think it was a different one.
Yeah, no, but that was a good example of how it just looks like a cross, but they make it so chunky. So they're like, no. It's not quite the cross.
Anyway,
somebody in
you
said,
can basically see like the pole right there. There you go.
You can see that pole. Jesus got pole that day.
There you go.
History. But the death of one person stands alone. That of Jesus Christ. Why did he die? Did his death have a purpose?
No.
To find the answer, we need to go back to the beginning of human
No, we
history.
don't have time for that.
Wow, yeah,
That's
no,
too
that's
far.
like let's start at
That
the
is way
beginning.
too far. Anyway, let's move on to the next belief, and that is the anti-Trinity. Again, I feel
Yeah.
like I wanted to put it next to the poll because I think it's very close. Even though the Trinitarian belief is, I mean, there are like arguments for and against. I believe in the Bible, unlike the poll. Like in the poll, like the Bible, every time that you try to like get into the what the Bible says, like it kind of says that it was a
Yeah.
cross, right? Here, the Trinity, it sounds like it could be something that is, I don't know, like they could be right. What do you think? Are they right, Jehovah's Witnesses, when they teach that? I never actually.
You're asking an atheist, but for a time, I dabbled in Christianity after leaving, and I like very blasphemously by JW standards, really was compelled by the cross, or not the cross, the Trinity.
By the cross,
Like
wow.
I thought, what it seems to me is that, and of course, Watchtower rejects the entire history of the arc of how Christian doctrines were formed. But,
Of course.
before Charles Taze Russell strolled along a few hundred years ago, for thousands of years, people were debating the meaning of these scriptures. And the Trinity, I do think, is the most satisfying explanation for how all of the conflicting things about Jesus and God and whatever the hell the Holy Spirit is, like it was a satisfying doctrine, and it's esoteric enough that it feels like there's depth there. Like you can, I don't know, kind of learn more about it. But
Yeah.
it's all fake, so it doesn't really matter. But I think the Jehovah's Witnesses are right. They're right when they say that the Trinity is not in the Bible, and that it was a doctrine that was found over time. It's just funny the way that they put it, because when they find a new understanding of something, they're like, oh, it's new light, even if it contradicts the old thing. Well, that's what happened
Yeah.
with the Trinity. Christians did not necessarily believe in the Trinity for a while. It was new light for them. It was a way of studying the scriptures and making sense of all these disparate things, as I understand
Yeah.
it. So it's an example of their hypocrisy. Like they value changing your mind, I guess. They value flip-flops, but they also, when other religions do it, they're like, see, they're bullshit.
Yeah, well, let's see how Robert Saranko puts it, because I just wanted to, give Jehovah's Witnesses a chance to explain
Real
their
lump of curdled
weird,
milk, this guy.
This guy is just so, I don't know. I don't really do ad hominem in my channel, because a part of me is like, oh, I kind of wish they wake up. I kind of wish they're good.
Oh
But
yeah,
I don't know. It's just this dude, Jesus. He's a very Jehovah's Witness. Like it's just. It's the way I can describe it.
He was made in the JW lab.
Yeah, exactly. He was made in Bethel. Anyway, let's see what he has to say about Trinity. We won't see the whole thing. I have just a little clip over it.
Less than 300 years after the Bible was completed, a Trinitarian added to 1 John 5:7 the words, "In heaven, the Father, the Word, and the Holy Ghost, and these three are one." However, this addition does not appear in the oldest Greek manuscripts, proving it's a fake, it's a corruption of God's word. And yet for centuries, the churches propagated the Trinity doctrine. As recently as the 19th century, almost all Bible translations had this spurious addition. As late as 1897, Pope Leo XIII upheld the corrupted text of the Latin Vulgate. Interestingly, the New Catholic Encyclopedia.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. As you can see, every time that they quote the Trinity, they have to say how, because they don't believe in the Trinity, that's how they know that they're the good ones. That's how they know that, that's the truth, because it's an identifier of them, which again makes it a core belief, because they can't go back to believing in the Trinity, because people will be like, no, that's wrong.
But also, it's not unique to Jehovah's Witnesses. Mormons also don't believe in the Trinity, which I did not know when I was a
Yeah.
Jehovah's Witness. You're right. Like, you take great pride in the fact that you don't believe in the Trinity. And like, it is easy to argue from the scriptures either way. So it's one that, like, when you're a witness, you feel really confident about that you can read scriptures about it. But yeah, sorry, I lost my train of thought. What
Yeah,
you
no,
said,
it's
what you
fine.
said was right.
Yeah, no, I feel like I feel like, yeah, it's just Jehovah's Witnesses cannot. The Trinity just came in because if you get into like the history of Christianity and all that stuff, you realize that probably Jesus never said that he was a God, and the divinity of Jesus was probably added onto it. We don't know
Right.
because the earliest manuscripts we have are 200 years like after Jesus. So like there was like 100 years since the first manuscripts were written, which by that time, it had been decades since Jesus had died. And then there was like 100 years where those manuscripts were written and could have been like rewritten over and over and over again until we find the most recent ones. So we don't even know how the first century Christians behaved or what they believed. We think that the belief that God, that Jesus was divine may have been put onto it. And then the Trinity is kind of like trying to make sense of all of it, but we don't know. And again, it doesn't matter. It's all made up anyway.
Well, it's also just kind of a plot hole of theirs that they always, and a lot of Christians do this, like, oh, the Bible has endured all this time. People have tried to destroy the Bible, but they just can't. They just can't keep the Bible down. But it's been able to have been corrupted. Like, people have been able to add spurious
Yeah.
verses, and they've been able to remove, by Jehovah's Witnesses viewpoint, they've been able to remove the divine name from the
Yeah, they
Bible. Like,
removed
why
God's
is
name.
God's cool with his book that he commissioned being corrupted, but he's not okay with it being destroyed? Like, why would he allow either one of those things?
Exactly. Why would the Trinity be allowed to exist in the Bible? Why would you be able to make an argument for the divinity of Jesus and all of that stuff if it's a holy thing that it's supposedly, completely incorrupted? Anyway, let's move on to the next belief that the Jehovah's Witnesses cannot get rid of. And for that, we have Jeffrey Winder to introduce
Oh, yeah.
his belief, because this is a very recent video. I try to get as recent of a stuff that I could get, so Jehovah's Witnesses is going to be like, oh, that's all light. No, this is brand new stuff, baby.
Hot off the press light.
Exactly. This came out hot off the press of the annual meeting.
He
This is
revealed
fresh.
new light? Is it all at once like a dump truck, or is it metered out like a trickle? Well, the answer to that is found in the book of Proverbs, chapter 4, in verse 18. Proverbs 4:18. But the path of the righteous is like the bright morning light that grows brighter and brighter until full daylight. So the Bible here uses the illustration of daylight. And what does that teach us? Well, the Watchtower said these words aptly apply to the way in which Jehovah reveals his purpose to his people gradually.
So this is the next Jehovah's Witnesses belief. New light. Jehovah's Witnesses believe in this almost how have you called it, Jake? Progressive revelation?
Yeah, that's what Mormons call it.
Yeah, exactly. It's a sort of progressive revelation. That is they call it new light. Again, just as the word Trinity doesn't appear in the Bible, the word new light doesn't appear in the Bible either.
No.
And that's because Jehovah's Witnesses use like this proverb. Let me look it up. Do you have something to say while I look it up to add on to like
yeah,
this
I
cute
think that
Jeffrey Winder clip?
Yeah, I think we've made a pretty huge mistake. I think that we have forgotten like the absolute number one most obvious belief, and I don't think it's not on your list.
No.
Yeah, but it's really hitting me now. I mean, any Jehovah's Witness would be screaming their head off that we're like 3 or 4 of these deep. It's the importance of the name Jehovah.
Oh, yeah. I wanted to include that on the last one because it's about Jehovah's organization.
Sorry, you were edging us. You were
Exactly.
edging us toward
I'm
it.
edging. I was
Shoot,
edging
okay.
people. Yes.
You're right.
So-
It can tie into it for
yeah,
sure.
but yeah, of course. The new light doctrine. Let me share this tab over here. Because the new light doctrine is basically just like this taken out of context. It's just a verse taken out of context. Now, it's taken out of Proverbs, obviously, which, as you can tell, Proverbs is called Proverbs and not prophecies, right? So it's not
Right.
about the future; it's just advices, right? That's what a proverb is,
I
right?
always had a problem with it.
In the beginning, it starts with, listen, my sons, to the discipline of a father. This is literal in Proverbs. They're literally telling you, hey, what you're about to hear is a proverb, okay? Just in the book of Proverbs. Now, it goes on to, let's start from verse 12. It says, when you walk, your steps will not be hindered, and if you run, you will not stumble. Hold on to discipline, do not let it go, safeguard it, for it means your life. Do not enter the path of the wicked, and do not walk in the ways of evil men. Shun it, do not take it, turn away from it and pass by it. So what is the dude saying, Jake? According to this, like, what could the meaning of this possibly be?
It seems to me like you should stay on the path of righteousness. That's what I'm getting from it.
Yeah, you should be righteous, right? Because righteous is considered, keep on the path of the righteous, not on the path of the wicked. That's it, right? It's about righteousness. And then, it keeps going on ad hominem about the unrighteous. They feed themselves with the bread of wickedness, and they drink the wine of violence, right? Just to like hammer it on. Don't go over there, right? Because those people are bad, right? And then it says, but the path of the righteous is like the bright morning light that grows brighter and brighter until full daylight. The way of the wickedness is like the darkness. They do not know what makes them stumble. Now, I think, I don't know if I think you'll agree with me, Jake, but I think this part, but the path of the righteous is like the bright morning light that grows brighter and brighter until the full daylight. That means, it doesn't mean that you should remain on the path of the righteous. And it's not like equivalating righteousness with light. This means that in the year like 2000-ish, 8 guys in New York were going to lead people in Jehovah's organization, and then they were going to make mistakes. But it's okay. I think that's what this believes. That's what this means. Am I wrong?
Yeah, I mean, I think they are really stretching to make it seem that this verse in any way implies that knowledge of Jehovah's Witness doctrines specifically would become more accurate as we got closer to the end of the system of things. Like, that doesn't
exactly.
I don't think you can really honestly, in good faith, get that conclusion.
But that is exactly what Jehovah's Witnesses conclude. We just heard Jeffrey Winder read this to say, this is why I believe in progressive revelation.
He proves it.
So to debunk the belief of new light, all you need to do is just read the Bible in context. That's literally, that's it. And then, you realize that new light is not a thing. However, why do you think Jehovah's Witnesses cannot get rid of, do you think that Jehovah's Witnesses will ever get rid of new light and be like, our teachings are like super strong and they do not change, actually?
No, I don't think so. I mean, this is a great teaching for them. I think it's totally necessary to any high control group, because you have to have complete fealty to whoever's at the top, the leader or leaders. But obviously, the leaders are going to make mistakes because they're not perfect. They're just narcissists making it up as they go along. So they need some kind of permission structure to get things wrong. And this is a smart way of doing it. They can say, well, Jehovah is just refining and clarifying and fine-tuning our understanding. The issue with it that I have, I've heard other people make this analogy is like, light growing brighter would be like, okay, it's a garage and it's dark, and you slowly dim the light up. first you'd be like, okay, that's a car. And then you'd be like, that's a blue car. And then you'd be like, oh, it's a blue Honda. And then you'd be like, oh, it's a blue Honda Civic with leather interior. You know, you're just adding more and more details, but you would not be like, it's a car. Oh, wait, no, it's a horse. Wait, no, it's a car. No, it's a monkey. No, it's a
No,
guy.
actually, there was
No,
nothing.
no, the car is a metaphor. Like, no, like it's what they are describing as like increased understanding doesn't actually apply to New Light either.
You're right. Even if you buy their own logic, it doesn't measure up to their own logic. Like it's against their own logic to argue that New Light, you know, happens because of, you know, we've seen how New Light goes. It's just basically flip-flopping sometimes, and there's no way why like New Light and becoming brighter and brighter would make you think, oh, it's this. No, actually, it's the opposite. No, actually, it is this. No, actually, it's the opposite. So it's just anyway.
Right.
And I just as an extra thing, I think this is very interesting. The fact that they have this New Light and this progressive revelation system means that they have changed their beliefs far more than the Catholic Church that they hate. The Catholic Church has had throughout the years a far more consistent belief system than the Jehovah's Witnesses, even though the Jehovah's Witnesses will want you to believe that you know, the Catholic Church is the worst.
Well, Jehovah's Witness Jake is responding. That's because they are tied to tradition. They dogmatically stick to traditions, even if it doesn't apply to the Bible. So they are knowingly doing things just to tickle the ears of their followers. They'd never be brave enough to cancel birthdays.
Yeah, a part of New Light, and this is a very important thing that I want to touch on before we move into the next topic. A part of New Light is believing that the light was right for the time. For the time, you were supposed to believe that stuff, actually. For the time, you were supposed to believe in the cross, actually. It was fine. For the time, you were supposed to not grow your beard. You were supposed to not do that. But, you know, we got New Light, and then now it's fine. So, yeah, it's not just New Light, but you not only do you have to, like, agree with it, but you have to like it and come up with apologetics to make it make sense. Anyway, thank you so much to the governor with 5 big ones. That's a clue in NYT, the New World Translation, that Jesus was on a cross. Like every other Bible, it says that the King of the Jews' notice was posted above his head in Matthew 27:37. Exactly. And what as we mentioned, it would have been posted like above. Although I don't know, maybe you know, they nailed them like this, right? And then they just had like the thing over here. You know, that's what Jehovah's Witnesses believe. Like this was the King of the Jews thing.
Well, we saw it.
Like
we saw it in the picture.
Yeah, they can't even get that right. You're right. Anyway,
it's
let's
like
move on to the
above
next
his
one.
hands. It's like
it's like
a
way above his
20-foot tall pole. It's really huge.
It's like a cross, but like a really like a really bad cross. Like they didn't have enough, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move to the next one. This is a very important one. They believe that hell is not a Christian belief. I have a video for this. Hold on. Damn it! I should have had like all of these loaded up, but I'm just working on another video.
This is deeply unprofessional.
There you go.
I was going to say, I liked Gabby's comment that all you need is a Bible and a dictionary to debunk their definitions of like New Light and stuff. I thought that was fun.
Exactly. That's kind of that's going to be the theme of this live stream. Spoiler alert. Let's just see what they have to say about hell, because this is very important in Jehovah's Witnesses theology. Just as the absence of a cross is important, the absence of a hell is also important in Jehovah's Witnesses beliefs. Wow, my internet is really bad, huh?
Hey, you said it.
Do you want to say something about the Jehovah's the hell before while this loads?
I know hell is real because I live in Ohio. It's a real place.
I know hell is real because I have this Wi-Fi connection.
Yeah, I mean, you
Ohio
you know
already
that
has
hell's
like
real
legal
because,
the weed, right?
Satan, if he was real, he would be like boosting your Wi-Fi so that you could get out this
Exactly.
anti-Jehovah's Witness message.
No, you see, this is Jehovah's hand. This is Jehovah's hand, like stopping my Wi-Fi, but not. He's not
Not
very good. Look at
using
him.
a lot of
He's not
force.
that good. Yeah, exactly. Just a little bit.
Many religions
Yeah.
teach that God condemns the wicked to eternal torment after they die, and hope that this fear of torment prevents them from doing bad. Does God really punish people after they die? The Bible reassures us that the dead are unconscious and that they know nothing at all. If the dead are unconscious, they cannot suffer.
Okay, that's what they believe. We already saw they just have like Adam and Eve and whatever. We already saw that they immediately, obviously, equate hell with churches, like the evil churches. And I find it funny that this is definitely a Jehovah's Witness who's wearing like a cross, which is just
I know.
it's fun, it's kind of hilarious every time that I see this shit. Anyway,
But-
obviously, like this is what identifies them as the one true religion. This isn't very good. Do you like this style of video?
No, I hate this, first of all. But we also need to mention it's like the superstitious quality around Christendom's imagery and stuff. But at Bethel, there's a whole costume department full of crucifixes and clergy robes and stuff. So it's like, is this stuff dangerous and superstitious and bad, or isn't it?
Exactly, because a Bethelite had to draw not only these crosses, but this image, this holy image of like the Virgin Mary or whatever. This was made by a Bethelite with
Yeah.
the help of donations. It's kind of crazy when you
Yeah.
think about it.
I don't think I would
They
have.
are they always are the ones who are allowed to go against the rules.
Yeah, because I mean, we're both, we both like to draw and stuff. I don't think I would have felt comfortable drawing a cross as a Jehovah's Witness. I think that would have like made me feel really eerie and like I had done something bad.
Well, yeah. In fact, when I started dating my partner, I was a believing Jehovah's Witness, and she had like crosses because she was an atheist. She just liked, the look
Yeah.
of a cross jewelry, right? Because it
I
looks
do
like
too. I kind
like
of want a
punk
cross.
and whatever. Yeah, and I asked her to like not wear them because it made me uncomfortable. Like that is the one
Yeah.
thing that I asked her not to wear. It's not like I was fine with like, like any dress or like whatever, like show whatever you want or what. Just please don't wear a cross because that makes me uncomfortable. That's the one thing that I asked her because yeah, it's just it's kind of weird to imagine that in Bethel you would have literally had to like create crosses and like holy stuff like this.
But it was, that was a cross made in Jehovah's house with Jehovah's wood and Jehovah's power tools for one of Jehovah's movies. So that was all safe and understood to be a fake
Yeah, this
cross.
is a guy. Like, look, this is important. This cross that they actually did build, like this actually does look like real, not like an animation thing. Like all of this is important because they had to associate the cross with the image of hell. That, as we have learned, is how the churches torment their followers, so they follow their religion. Unlike Jehovah's Witnesses, who torment their followers to follow their religion with the belief of a genocide, because that would be my counter to the belief of hell. They have like this, they go into this high horse on being like, oh, we don't believe in hell because, oh, God would never, Jehovah would never do that stuff. He would only kill everybody. Everybody you know, statistically, everybody, including you and your family and everybody, in a violent way, while you know that Jehovah killed you right before we have to bury everybody so we can enjoy living in paradise. That is way better. Is that not way better, Jake?
Yeah, no, you're right, because I mean, the thing with hell, in my opinion, is like, obviously it's not real, right? None of it's real. The only thing that you know for
Yeah.
sure is the fear that you will die because you weren't good enough. Like there was an opportunity for something good to happen, but because you were wicked, you're destroyed violently by God. And that fear and violent end is still there when you're a Jehovah's Witness. Like it's just
Exactly.
different. You just don't fear hell, you fear Armageddon. So it's the same thing. I never took any comfort in thinking like, well, at least if I die in Armageddon, it won't last forever like hell, which isn't real.
Yeah.
Like that never crossed my mind. It was scary enough, the idea
But it's
of
not.
being caught in a Revelation book type scenario.
Yeah, but I would argue it's not the same thing because hell happens once you die. Armageddon can happen tomorrow to everybody. Like you're not gonna live all the way until you're old, and then you have to worry about it. No, Armageddon is going to happen within the next 5 to 10 years. So
That's
you
right.
have to.
Yeah.
It adds to this extra level of pressure where you don't have the rest of your life. You just have like maybe you have less than you think. So I
Yeah.
don't know. I find it even. That's why I wanted to bring up hell because not only do Jehovah's Witnesses can Jehovah's Witnesses not get rid of that and not start teaching about hell, and not only this is this a core doctrine, but it's their alternative is way worse. I would say. I mean,
I
genocide.
know. Yeah. I mean, hell seems bad, but it's also like hell is kind of like Jehovah's Witness paradise, and that it's all just fan fiction. Nobody actually knows what's going to be happening there. So you
Yeah.
can just imagine whatever you want, but just in reverse, where paradise, it can be as awesome as you want, and hell can be as terrifying as you want. But I think it's the same thing with Armageddon. You don't know exactly what it's going to be like. You just know it's going to be
Yeah.
terrifying and final.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's just with hell. I feel like with hell, it's it's just very. I don't know how to describe it. It's just you you wouldn't suffer like yourself. You are like this spirit, is condemned to like to suffer, maybe.
Hmm.
And I feel like hell has been like increasingly on like the increasingly on the decline. Is that a word? I feel like that is a stupid way of saying it, but it's not a lot of
Hell
churches
is on the
teach hell
decline.
like before. Yeah, hell is on the decline. I feel like increasingly on the decline sounds very weird, but like you know what I
I
mean.
don't know.
Like a lot of churches don't really teach hell like, oh, you're gonna suffer forever, and they don't really dwell on that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think, but it's this is for a hell believer to explain, I suppose. But it is like for really righteous people, they also like the idea of hell because they like the idea of seeing their enemies tortured. And it kind of has the same purpose for Jehovah's Witnesses, where if you're super holier than that, you're like, well, that guy is gonna get a fucking fireball to the face. Can't wait till the Catholic Church is destroyed in Armageddon. All these terrible, profane, gaudy buildings and churches, they're all going to be destroyed in Armageddon. Isn't that going to be great? I remember people saying stuff like that out in service, and I remember
Yeah.
saying similar things like, "Oh yeah, when those churches get destroyed, that'll be great."
Yeah, and not only is it like more like destructive, but it's destructive also for people because I feel like heaven or hell is like a 50-50 chance, right? Like if you fall into like the 50% of people that are like the better ones, then you go to heaven, and then you fall into the 50% of people that are the worst ones, like you go to hell, right? Whereas Armageddon destroys 99.9% of people. Like it's
That's
far
true.
worse.
Yeah,
It destroys us
very few
forever,
people.
sure, but very few people actually survive.
Well, it's weird
Anyway,
though because they do think that, like, yeah, some people are going to be killed in Armageddon, just like as casualties of war, but then they'll be brought back in the resurrection during the 1,000-year reign
that is
because
true.
resurrection
With
of
the
the
new
righteous
understanding.
and the unrighteous, which I've heard people say that everybody ever is going to be resurrected. And it's like, no, 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 that's not what Jehovah's Witnesses teach. They teach that there are some people that like will not get a second chance. but they're just not specific on who, you know.
Yeah. Anyway, I think we can move on to the next core
Yes.
Jehovah's Witness belief. I think we can probably debunk the hell, not because it's unbiblical or whatever, but because Jehovah's Witnesses are worse. But into that, we are going to see me when I was a kid. Remember, I'm Caleb.
That's right.
You can't even
Look, Mom.
see the drawing.
Literally
I drew a family in school
unwatchable.
today. Oh, I didn't have time to finish
Oh,
Caleb's
there
face.
you go.
Mary drew two mommies. She told me they're married to each other. My teacher says that all that matters is that people.
I love this. She's like, Caleb, draw two mommies. Oh, wait, what?
Dramatic fine boobs, man.
Not Caleb, but like somebody drew two mommies. Like she literally puts it aside and she's like, we need to have a conversation right now. You like she immediately
Everything
changes.
stops. This is
People love each other and that they're happy.
What?
oh
You
no,
wanna say
I was
something?
just
Oh.
yeah, this video is probably the most famous video Jehovah's Witnesses have ever made.
Yes.
Like, it's every famous YouTube like atheist dunked on it, and a lot of like people on TikTok have debunked it. It made the rounds on Twitter. So this thing is pretty bad for them. I don't know. Must be doing something.
Let's just finish. Yeah, let's just finish watching because she's like, oh, she drew two mommies. That's
Well,
horrible.
people have their own ideas about what is right and wrong.
Mhm.
But what matters is how Jehovah feels. He wants us to be happy, and he knows how we can be happiest. That's why he invented marriage the way he did.
You mean one man and one woman?
Exactly. Look at Genesis 1:27. Jehovah created Adam and Eve, male and female. Then in Genesis 2:24, he said that a man will stick to his wife. Later, Jesus said the same thing. Jehovah's standards haven't changed. It's kind of like going on an airplane. What would happen if someone wanted to bring something on the plane that wasn't allowed?
Being
go on
gay
a
is
trip.
exactly like
Right.
going on an airplane.
It's the same with Jehovah.
Yeah, exactly. Gay is like when you carry a dildo and you're not allowed to carry a dildo. Like it's just that's what carrying. That's what being gay is. Anyway, obviously we see everything. Obviously, if you want to go to paradise, you have to go. You have to leave your gayness away.
It's
There you go.
That's right.
Well, he doesn't actually leave it. Look, he's like, do I want to go to paradise or do I really like
Right,
my bag?
Like,
He doesn't actually drop it. Oh no,
If
he
I don't
does.
wanna be
Look,
killed.
look, he dropped his gayness.
But I
That's
want
how
everyone to
easy
get
it
to
is
paradise.
to not be
So
gay.
Exactly. You just drop it. You just don't do it.
Yeah.
Just don't
Just
do it,
stop
Jake.
being that.
Why are you gay? Why are you gay?
I've never
that's
been
what-
able to
feel-
figure
I
out
feel
why
like
I'm
this
gay.
is- This has to be a core doctrine of Jehovah's Witnesses because again, they cannot get rid of it. They cannot get rid of it because I feel like the homophobia is so like boiled into the religion that if you start to like be like, no, actually, homosexuals are fine. They can marry Kingdom Hall. They can be elders and all that stuff. It would destroy the religion. Like I feel like a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses are Jehovah's Witnesses because it allows them to just have their biases about the world and just see them in the skewed way that they like to see it, and it just gives them an excuse. But how would you counter homophobia to a Jehovah's Witness? How would you be like, this is why you're wrong? Because it's not really biblical. I mean, what would you say to a Jehovah's Witness who's like, homosexuals are wrong because the Bible says so?
Well, hang on. My cat's making me want to saw my own head off. Oh, Bo is so bad. I think, to be honest, it's just not, I don't think you can really make a logical argument because they're not taking a logical position. Their entire personality and worldview is wrapped up in the group being true. So they probably have they definitely have actual homophobia and some level of like genuine distaste, I guess, because they've trained themselves to. But I think you have to just make the emotional argument, the very real argument. First of all, I don't think that you can argue. I don't know that you can really argue with a bigot in that way. I think that as somebody who is, gay, I'm half gay, I'm full gay sometimes. I don't know how bisexuality works, but it's like I knew that I disagreed with it, and I knew that it was something that I quote struggled with. And it was just seeing normal people out and happy and living their life, and seeing other people take a no nonsense approach to bigotry that made me realize, yeah, you know what? Decent people don't tolerate this. Decent people that I respect find this distasteful. And that's why, like, I don't have any tolerance for it on my channel. I don't, and I respect that you make that same stance on your channel, because I just don't like, everybody needs room to learn. But in my opinion, it's much more important to have safe spaces for queer people after they leave a doomsday cult. And I don't give a shit about making homophobic people feel comfortable. I think that the best way to snap them out of it is to make them uncomfortable with their own bigotry. So that's kind of that was a long answer, but yeah.
It's good. It's good because, I mean, I feel like how can I put this? Jehovah's Witnesses have such a skewed way with homophobia, and then they become like so pedantic sometimes with like definitions. And we just saw, like, they're like, Jesus said a man would abandon his mom to go to his wife. So, that means that he didn't say gays. He didn't say man with man. Well, if you get that pedantic, there's two answers to that. First of all, the words used to describe like homosexuality necessarily indicate a level of I hope this is fine and this doesn't get me demonetized, but it involves some sort of like sodomy. The words used for homosexuality in the Bible doesn't fully consensual loving relationship. That's one. And the second one, if you're gonna be that pedantic, the Jehovah's Witnesses, are you frozen? Oh shit! No. Oh, I think you were frozen. Okay. Okay.
I was frozen.
If you're gonna be that pedantic, the Jehovah's Witnesses. Okay, cool. The Jehovah's Witnesses. Okay, good.
He's frozen. Okay.
If you want to be that pedantic, the Bible between a woman and a woman happens. So lesbianism is from the Bible. So, if you want to be that pedantic, you can go like those two ways against the Jehovah's Witness using their own logic. Is that good? I'm sorry. I'm lagging a little bit.
Yeah, it's like you cut out completely for a minute there.
All right, let's move on to the next one. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna kill my internet provider.
If you need to, I don't know, refresh or anything, let me know.
No, I think we'll push through it because that hasn't worked so far. Let's just watch the next one to introduce the next topic.
Everything happened so fast.
Oh.
Everyone thought that because so much blood was lost, my life was in danger and I would need a blood transfusion.
This isn't, wow. Yeah, Jehovah is trying to stop
were
what's happening on this stream,
describing treatments that I wasn't familiar with.
Yes.
I was in my mind trying to think, have I heard of this? Do I know what this is? Have I read about it?
Blood, it would be obviously more serious.
It will be obviously more serious. That's it. That's just the clip that I wanted to show. So yeah, that is a huge belief in the Jehovah's Witnesses, which I think they also cannot go back, which is their no blood policy. Now you have a little bit of experience in this. You were in the situation that this guy was. That is pretty much accurate, right? Like you lose a lot of blood, and then they're like, hey, so do you think we can put a little bit of blood in you, because you're gonna be, and then you can be like, you can like do an assessment. That is how it works, right? Like you have time to think and everything.
There's a prolonged discussion and debates on various sides. I mean, you know, I'm sure that happens sometimes for like long-term treatments, maybe. But in my case, I had complications with my Crohn's disease. I've since had surgery, and I'm doing fine. But yeah, I needed blood at some point, and it was like an emergency. I was taken via an ambulance, and like they were just trying to do tests and stuff. And when they were doing a CT scan, like I started losing consciousness, and my vitals were plummeting. And so, yeah, it was like a matter of minutes before they started a blood transfusion. This was like the week before I got this fellowship. So I was already fully okay with blood. You know, I had deconstructed that much.
Yeah, you have a really good video on your channel about it.
I talk about it at the very least in my life story video, but I want to do a big video on blood this year and try and maybe get some research, some numbers on how many people have died, because I think you're right. You, by the way, are completely frozen. I'm talking to a painting of Caleb, a pixel painting. And so I don't know if anybody can hear me, or if anything's happening, or if I'm alive, but I'm gonna keep talking. I think that the blood thing, you're right. They cannot change it, because
Sorry,
people have died.
I'm getting.
Uh-oh, he's gone. This is my plan for all of XJW YouTube, everybody. Slowly but surely, I will take over every channel. I will become the host of every XJW live stream from here to eternity. Anyway, you can see Bo in the background, who's been a complete fucking asshole this entire time. Every time I'm in here trying to work, he comes in here and tries to knock shit off. Oh no, you're fine.
I have to like reset this. Not
Oh no, Paul. Remember that great conversation we had about Paul? Oh no, to cap off the blood thing. What the fuck was I saying? Oh yeah, they can't go back on it, because I think that it's like too shameful. It would be too shameful. I think that they would be opening themselves up to a lot of problems if they did that legally, because people have let family members die. They've let their wives die, their little babies die. Like, witnesses love to say, oh, but that hardly ever happened. Well, you don't know that for sure. Do you know anybody personally that's died? You know, they'll just pass the blame. But I don't know. I don't think that I don't think they could get away with changing it without opening themselves up to a pretty huge lawsuit for like wrongful deaths and stuff.
Do you think? But like, do you think they would get a lawsuit? Because I feel like that is like why. No. Hold on, I just wanted to like show this, because this is really cool. I saw the comment and I was like, what?
Nice.
This is true, so thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to everybody. Anyway, I've heard that you know that argument before, that Jehovah's Witnesses could not change because they would be open to a lawsuit. But I feel like Jehovah's Witnesses are so the believing Jehovah's Witnesses are so indoctrinated that they wouldn't. Would they actually like serve a lawsuit to their own religion?
Oh, I mean, I think absolutely. Because the only legal protection that they have right now is that, well, this is our religious doctrine. And if they changed it, I think people would see through it and be like, well, hey, wait a minute. They knew that this this was never true, which means there was no reason for my family member to die. You know, it would cause people to probably wake up and sue their
Yeah.
religion. And then witnesses couldn't rely on the get out of jail free card that because the Bible told me so.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, I mean, I think that would happen. It's just I don't know how accurate that would be, but I don't know if you would agree with me with this, but I feel like they cannot change the no blood policy because this is such an important core belief for them that it would be the one thing that would actually lead to like wake people up. I feel like they cannot change anything else that will lead people to like wake up more than the no blood policy. So yeah, I don't know, but how would you debunk it? Like this is very easy to debunk, but what do you tell a believing Jehovah's Witness who's watching this, being like, but the Bible says so though? What would you tell to that believing Jehovah's Witness who's watching right now? Hello, we know who you are.
Hello.
Thank you for watching.
Yes, we've been waiting, Steve. Welcome. I hope that there's a questioning person named Steve. That just really freaked him out. The best analogy I heard, I don't know if it was on JW Facts or a video I saw, but I've repeated it in a video I did, which is what the justification that witnesses use is that blood is this symbol of life. That's why it's precious to Jehovah. And of course, they always talk about how important it is, like Jehovah, he loves life. And that's why we have to be so safe on building projects and stuff. But why would the symbol of life be more important than the life itself? That would be, and this is the analogy, that would be like respecting the wedding ring more than your marriage. And to me, that was like, yep, that makes total sense to me. And I don't think you really
like
can.
If blood is so important, then no, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you go ahead. I said what I needed to say.
Oh, okay. I'm probably gonna get laggy anyway. So, but yeah, I feel like it's a really good argument because it goes into the crux of the issue. It cannot be the Bible. I don't have the verse.
Oh, the Bible verse. Yeah, you are lagging again.
Punish for eating blood or for I think we. Okay, I think I. Am I good?
You keep cutting in and out. You have bursts of clarity and then kind of dip out. Now,
shit. Just this one and
I like Danny's resolve to just like through sheer willpower make the internet work. Uh-oh. Now he's just a circle. But aren't we all circles, everyone? The circle of life, that is. Think about that. Here's a fun thing about blood. There's plasma in it. And natural occurring plasma is a part of Aurora Borealis. That's a true thing. I don't know. Yeah, man, the blood thing fucking drives me crazy. It's I haven't made a video about it on my channel because I do find it to be very triggering personally, but also so infuriating. Like, it's really impossible for me to understand how people can justify. Hey, there's the man.
Sorry, I came literally downstairs to be next to the modem because it's just
well, you look great.
I hope it works.
It worked out.
Anyway, we were
we were talking blood. And I think we're going to move on from no blood.
Yeah, let's move on to are we ready to move on? Because I'm sorry, I don't
I think we're good.
Okay, good. Let's show this one, which was the sorry, it's just now I don't have two screens, so it's a little bit harder
Oh yeah.
Because I just grabbed the computer to like come downstairs.
I think Lloyd might be sabotaging this.
Lloyd is the worst. Why is he
He's in The
doing
Wire.
this? Anyway, let's watch this real quick.
Oh, holidays and celebrations. Yeah.
We'll put a little.
Hey, buddy, how's school?
That's my dad, Grayson, and my older brother, Dylan.
Hey, bro, we're gonna play ball. You wanna come?
No, thanks.
What is this?
You want me to talk about school? You didn't want to talk about school today.
It wasn't my worst day at school, but pretty close.
Okay,
It
yes.
all started first thing this morning. Everyone was signing a birthday card for one of our classmates, Lucas.
Do you want to
He just got home from being at the hospital for cancer treatments. I don't celebrate birthdays.
What?
My teacher said that Lucas may not come back to school for a long time. I felt so bad he was sick.
This is horrifying.
This is the most disgusting video ever made.
Wait, can you think about it?
Just lower a bit so I can talk over it. This is
Thing is,
horrible.
I did want to
He's
sign the
curled
card.
up in the fetal position on his bed, rocking back and
Lucas was one of
forth
the nicest
like
people
a
in my class.
madman because of a birthday cake.
Maybe I can just sign it.
This is what
I mean,
this religion
it's not
does
like
to
I'm going
people.
a birthday party.
I mean, he's like, fine, I guess I'll sign it, you know?
He
It's not that
hides the
important.
fucking card
When Dad came in,
like it's
Even
pornography.
the kid is like, it's not that important. I'll just sign. It's just a card. It's not like I'm even celebrating. It's not even his birthday yet. You know,
How
it's
did he? Oh, wait, yeah. How did How did he get this card home?
because
That's
this
such
is
a
the
lapse in
stupidest part.
judgment.
This is stupidest part. The teacher was like, have this card
Yeah,
and think about it and then give it back signed. This is your
Giving-
homework.
giving a
Apparently.
Jehovah's Witness a birthday card to like protect. That's like giving a grizzly bear a beehive full of honey and being like, here, can you just keep an eye on this for me? Like, no, they're gonna, you know exactly what they're gonna do with that.
Yeah, that's like trusting me with a cake, which oh my god, I do have a cake.
Sting you with a cake.
Anyway, hold on. Let me just play this, the rest of this, because it's important for the argument. Well, I do get the cake. Hold on.
You
I
go
told him
do
everything
it.
that happened.
Chelsea, happy
I know
birthday
from
to
the
your son,
Bible
by
that
the
it's
way.
wrong to celebrate birthdays, but is signing the card really
This
a
video
big
is
deal?
so absolutely gross.
Dad said my question was a good one.
I
Then he
missed
showed me the
it
scripture.
whenever this originally aired.
Ephesians 5:10.
But I found
Keep
it when
on
I
making
was
sure
trying to
what
make a Christmas
of the Lord.
YouTube poop, which
He said we all have to keep
I
making
think I
sure
made
that
one.
what's
It's not very
pleasing to
good.
Jehovah.
This
Because
was one of the
Satan is our
only
master.
things I could find that mentioned the word
Then he
Christmas
follows Aaron.
specifically. I don't even know if it's this
He
video.
asked
I think
Aaron
it's
to
in
make
the
him a god.
talk that David Splain uses to introduce it. I think Caleb
So
went
Aaron
and
made a
literally
golden
got a
calf,
cake.
thinking that it could represent Jehovah. He told the people,
This
"There's a
dance
festival to
rules.
Jehovah tomorrow.
Look at this dance they're
True worship
doing.
was being mixed with false worship."
And then in like
Jehovah
slow
was not
motion.
happy.
Anyway,
Absolutely.
we can see where this is going, right? Basically, holidays are bad because pagan, which is what Jehovah's Witnesses use when they don't have like a verse that they can point to say that I don't like this. You know, like they are like, oh, we don't like it because paganism.
Yeah, it
Which is
used
why-
to a long time ago, pagans did this. And that means that if we do it, it's the same thing. I don't know. It doesn't really make any sense. Like people have pointed out that anniversary celebrations have pagan origins. Wedding rings themselves have pagan origins. Pinatas.
Yes, but what you're forgetting, Jake, is that those are part of Western cultures, and Western
Yes.
cultures are okay, Jake. Western
So is
Western
Christmas.
cultures, as long as it's appropriate to do or to wear in 1950s white America, it's
Yeah.
appropriate for the Jehovah's Witnesses.
And this is Rutherford stuff, I believe, right? Like he was the one who started pushing the like, let's be really different. He's the one who got rid of Christmas and birthday
Exactly.
celebrations.
And he's the one who introduced the cross as well. Well, the essence of the cross. Rutherford
Yeah, he
was the one
destroyed the
who
cross.
Yeah, Rutherford was the one who basically radicalized the religion into the cult that it is today. You can argue that with Russell, it wasn't really a cult. It was maybe like a little bit of a cult of personality, but it wasn't a high control group per se. Like you had a lot of like leeway. You could do you can live your life and whatever. You know, it was just you knew things about the Bible, like this weird interpretation about the Bible that not a lot of people knew about. But that's it. It was Rutherford who radicalized the religion, and yeah, I mean, he was the one who got rid of most worldly celebrations. It
really is. It's kind of the pattern that you find with cults, where like it's the second person to come along that always makes it even worse. Like Miscavige taking over for L. Ron Hubbard, and Rutherford is very much that way. I think so. I've been reading a lot of C.T. Russell's early publications, and it is one thing that's crazy. Like a lot of the doctrinal stuff is there somewhat in the kind of, holier than now, obviously, and Armageddon's coming, and all false religion's bad and all that stuff. But what I've noticed that I didn't know, because I obviously never read his stuff as a witness, because they don't publicize it anymore, is that
because they don't make sense as well.
he cited a lot of other religious scholars and stuff of the day to bolster his points. Like he was much more involved in this kind of community.
Yeah,
I figured this out too when like researching the Freemason video, that like it wasn't abnormal for him to speak to a group of Freemasons, because he talked to a lot of different religions. Remember, he did like debates with other religious leaders. And so that's something that's very different, where now the broadcasts, they will just cite Watchtower publications, even if it's for something scientific. They'll like cite what the Watchtower said on it. And that's, I know this is a total change, the total tangent, but it's just front of mind. And yeah, like the contrarianism and stuff is kind of there with Russell, but Rutherford, yeah. Sorry, I totally took you in a crazy direction.
No, but this is important, because I feel like that's why there's no biblical reason as to why they can't celebrate holidays. In fact, like there is this Bible verse that, again, I'm not going to read because I can't remember what it is, that says that you shouldn't, judge anybody who's celebrating whatever, like as long as you're celebrating, it doesn't matter. You shouldn't judge that, right? You should just do whatever. Like there's no verse that says you shouldn't celebrate Mother's Day because it has like pagan roots, like. The only reason why it's there is because when you develop a high control group, you will inevitably end up developing high control behavior, mechanisms of high control over your followers' behaviors. And this is a mechanism of high control within your behavior. You're not even, Jehovah's Witnesses are barely allowed to have parties where the central part of it isn't Jehovah, isn't the religion. And this is, if they celebrated worldly celebrations, it would be far easier for them to be in contact with unbelievers as well. So it just ends up working really well for a high control group like the Jehovah's Witnesses, I feel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, let's move on to the second to last. I lost track. I don't know if
the penultimate one you said.
Yeah, I don't know if this is the 10th one, which is preaching. Let me just share you what Jehovah's Witnesses believe about preaching. This is just, if we make it fast, it's gonna be less than a minute. Because
I really enjoy videos.
Yes, it's the best thing. I can't believe that they just added it like 2 months ago, but I've been using it literally every day. No Jehovah's Witnesses have used it more than me. I can guarantee you that.
I know. It's XJW streamers who
exactly. Oh, sorry, I'm not.
And the governing body is intent.
I thought I had.
That's a real video.
Yes.
So crazy.
Jehovah's Witnesses are convinced that this system of things is deep into its last days. And the governing body is intent on reaching as many people as possible with the knowledge of God.
We want to continue to oversee and give impetus to the preaching work, because this has to be done before the end comes. Mark 13:10. In all the nations, the good news has to be preached first.
Jesus said that we can have more confidence in the fulfillment of the Bible than the sun coming up. And so with that kind of faith, we can do the work that's involved. We just pour ourselves into that.
It would be impossible for humans to do what Jehovah accomplished. We have to give him full credit for the things that have transpired. And we also realize that we've got a work to complete.
So keeping our brothers and sisters focused on what Jehovah wants us to do at this particular time, seeing how close the end is, that is our main focus, and giving full support to the Brotherhood as they continue to show their love for Jehovah, to preach that good news in all the inhabited earth.
That guy has a beard now.
Anyway. You got a goatee. Let's not go crazy.
Anyway, that is what Jehovah's Witnesses believe, and you wanted to add this, and I think it was very important because I feel this is a very important core doctrine of the Jehovah's Witnesses. Not just preaching, but their definition of preaching, because Jehovah's Witnesses have this very specific definition of preaching. What do Jehovah's Witnesses believe preaching means, Jake?
Yeah, no, that's so important, because if you're not a Jehovah's Witness, you'd think, yeah, well, every Christian church has preachers. I'm like, no. Preaching specifically means going publicly and declaring the good news of the kingdom as interpreted by Jehovah's Witnesses. That's what preaching is, whether it's door to door or at their little carts that they stand at. That is preaching. Preaching is not what in Christendom, what a preacher does. That's not preaching.
Exactly. For them, preaching is almost exclusively talking about their religion to people who don't have their religion, in order to try to convert them, or at least I feel like you can even delete that last part. Preaching is talking about your religion to somebody who's not part of your religion.
Yeah,
that is their definition for Jehovah's Witnesses. But that's not really what preaching means, right? Obviously, if you're not, I actually took a few months to realize this when I was waking up, that preaching, the definition of preaching. Should we look it up on the dictionary?
Wow, yeah, like an episode of JW Broadcasting.
Exactly. Let's do it.
By the way, what the do you curse on these, right? I've been cursing a lot.
Yes, of course I curse. I curse.
What the fuck was that video? That looked like something that I would make as a joke.
It was really bad. And
the governing body are convinced.
We have a rare appearance of normal Stephen Lett as well. That's why I wanted to include it.
Yeah.
You don't see that. You don't really see that at all.
That was him at a 5 or 6,
Yes.
And his little tuft on
yeah,
top,
with his,
really.
I think he just gave up already, because
he was clinging on to that.
Maybe he hasn't given up on the come over, but he has slow little hair that it's just very hard to see nowadays.
Yeah, he had a little Cool Whip spiral right on top of his head.
Anyway, we can see it right here. Preaching, according to the Oxford Language Dictionary, defines preaching as the delivery of a sermon, religious address to an assembled group of people, typically in church, or the giving of moral advice in a pompous, self-righteous way. Obviously, the religious way is the way that it's meant in the Bible. When you go and you give a speech as a Jehovah's Witness from the platform, you are preaching. According to the actual definition. But obviously, Jehovah's Witness would never consider
speaking
from the platform preaching.
No, that's not preaching.
That's not preaching.
That's kind of, I've never done this, just looked at the dictionary definition of preaching, but you're right. I had to overcome that too in my head, because I'm like, no, but you just don't realize when you're in a closed community, for the most part, and you have a shared language, you can just change the definition of words, and you just don't even realize that you're talking nonsense. The definition of preaching is just not at all what it is to Jehovah's Witnesses.
Exactly.
I gave a lot of Sunday talks, but I would have never said, oh yeah, I was preaching on Sunday. That would be, I went out in the field ministry on Sunday. That's
exactly
right. Anyway, that's
I made a whole video about it, because preaching is one of the things. It's not just a core doctrine. because it's such an important part of being a Jehovah's Witness, but it's a core doctrine because it's literally like on their checklist. We are the only ones who preach all around the world because we have this very specific skewed definition of preaching being pretty much door-to-door canvassing. And we are the ones who do that the most. So if they actually had the normal definition of preaching, what, the Catholic Church would be the biggest one? Like, like the biggest religion is the one that preaches the most automatically, like ipso facto, right? So they have to hold on to this, not just this belief that they are the only ones who preach, but this belief on this skewed definition of preaching, because otherwise I feel like people would wake up if they realize what preaching actually was supposed to be in the Bible.
Yeah.
Because you have illustrations of Jesus and the apostles like going door to door, which never happened.
Yeah, no, you're right. You literally think that you're the only group in the world that preaches the good news of the kingdom worldwide. And it's like, what? No, every Christian religion does that. They just use the different definition of preaching.
Exactly.
The traditional, what's it called? The orthodox use of the word preaching.
The correct one, I would say.
Yes.
the one that's actually right.
It's not wrong to say preaching from door to door. It's just, if I told someone that I was preaching or that I was a preacher, they would assume that I was a guy, a preacher man talking to, a laity class. I don't know church terms. I don't know those false religions.
No, we would never. Anyway, let's introduce the. I haven't seen. Okay, hold on. Let me just do one thing because I think I did a blunder. Okay,
you did.
Hold on. Let me just because we're about to enter the last one. That is
we missed a big one.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7. See, damn it! I repeated new light. So it's fine. I remember I merged like the last two, so I can unmerge them.
Oh yeah.
So it's totally fine. So it's actually 10. Because the next one is this one. We are going to introduce my crush. We're gonna let my crush do the appearance in this, because like
wait before you hit it.
Yeah,
I think we should highlight Meliorate with Nate's comment, which is a great name. How about demons and how every little thing can invite them in? The story is spread about them to scare kids and say, like, Satan and demons and stuff is really important. We talked about superstitious stuff, and we did talk about like Armageddon fears with Satan, but the general energy that like Satan and demons are constantly around, that's a really big part of the lifestyle.
and it's something that you think about all the time, even though it's not really outright said in the publications, at least not lately. I feel like it's not really, they haven't, I guess they do remind people that, demons are like trying to tempt you all the time.
They do.
But yeah, I want to make a video just about that, just about Jehovah's Witnesses and demonism.
No, that's me. I'm doing that.
No, I want to do that one in company with your video in preparation for your novel. Because I feel like, if I can like establish the lore for your novel, that would be, that would be really cool.
I'm pro you promoting my novel though. That sounds good. I like that part of the plan.
Anyway, let's show my crush. Yes, it's Jade. Let's put
Who
it
else
past
could
it.
it be?
Yeah.
Well, I like the girl from the What Is True Love
That's
video.
time and unexpected events.
Well, it's one of those cases.
What about when someone survives because they're at the meeting?
Jade and Nita are both so cute.
Straight answer.
They really
Does Jehovah
are.
check witnesses or not?
Funny.
And their
My
accent.
weekly plans and that covers that week. Why don't you come?
They do have lovely accents.
What time?
So she's insisting to go to the meetings.
Now, what
For
the
my
hell's
Jade to
happening
go to the
here?
meetings.
This is going so fast. I don't even know what they're talking about.
Oh, she's just like, go to the meetings, please. Go to the meetings.
Oh yeah.
That's it.
Commit yourself to the organization. No.
So cute.
I couldn't believe I missed her part.
Very
Just
shame.
hasn't met me.
Loss.
Witnesses are never tardy to the meetings, of course.
Nita had said, at the hall, everyone loves one another. But until I felt it, I had no idea. I told her I'd be back.
Anyway, that's how I wanted to introduce the second to last gigantic belief, which is belonging only to Jehovah's organization. And not just belonging to an organization, to Jehovah's organization, but to do all of the things that belonging to Jehovah's organization implies, which is going to preach and, most importantly, going to the meetings, which, again, like, it is how the Bible says, like, you should go to the midweek meeting and the weekend meeting every week. I mean,
that's right.
Following the Bible, right?
That's another good example of how, because the only thing that Jehovah's Witnesses can point to this kind of structure is that Paul once said, "Do not forsake the meeting of one another," or the gathering together. You know, their translation makes it sound slightly more like a meeting, but all he's saying is y'all Christians should hang out sometimes. It does not imply that you should have like a weekly organized structured program with a top-down structure where the money flows to the top and like it's not like that at all. But you're right, this is important. You have to fully commit yourself to the group.
And not only do you have to commit yourself to the group, but you have to abide by the organization standards, which I feel we can talk. Before we talk about that, I want to touch on what you just mentioned, though. When the Bible says that you should not forsake meeting with each other, that doesn't mean you shouldn't stop going to the meetings. That means you shouldn't stop checking up on each other. The actual language, like it's not talking about the meetings twice a week. It's about, you know, meeting with each other and encouraging one another and preaching to each other, because that's what preaching means, right? So that is, it's just so compact that I feel like the beliefs of Jehovah's Witnesses, that it's just, it relies, the misunderstanding relies on a misunderstanding, and that also relies on a misunderstanding with Jehovah's Witnesses. I feel. And belonging to Jehovah's organization is like the ultimate version of that, because there's nothing in the Bible that says you should follow men. Jehovah's organization is not like, I feel like there are far more Bible verses that you can point to in favor of Trinity than in favor of Jehovah's earthly organization. So if you have to reject Trinity, you have to reject Jehovah's organization, though. And this, I think this is a big, this is where we can mention that Jehovah's organization is a huge scam, because Jehovah isn't even God's name. And that is, like, you know, we can merge that part in here, I guess, because that's also, I've made a video about that, but that is also another thing that Jehovah's Witnesses cannot go back in. The belief that Jehovah is God's name. Now, do you I think you wanted to mention something about that?
Oh, we have somebody talking about 1 Corinthians 14 describing meetings. But I disagree. I mean, that's the verse that says
we can
God
read it.
is not a disorder, not a God of disorder, but of peace, as all our meetings together, something like that. And that's not, but this still doesn't describe the worship structure that Jehovah's Witnesses have. Like, that's just saying that when you meet together, be peaceful and orderly.
Exactly. Which is, again, about meeting with each other. And I mean, the early Christians did meet with each other to talk about the Bible. That was kind of their thing, right? But it wasn't at the Kingdom Hall. They didn't have Kingdom Halls. That wasn't that is no early Christian had Kingdom Halls. They met in houses of people. So all of this, like Jehovah's organization thing, I feel like from the word Jehovah itself to like kingdom halls to the structure of the meetings, all of this is like superimposed because this is a high control group, and this is a core doctrine of the Jehovah's Witnesses that they cannot get rid of, because this is how they exert control. If they got rid of this, then they wouldn't have a religion. Or do you think? Do you think like they could? How much could they get rid of this? Because we're talking about like not just the core doctrines, but how unbiblical they are. So, do you think they could go more biblical? Like, do you think they can get rid of this?
No, I feel like this is a trick question, but I don't think so, because then you wouldn't have a cult anymore, and they want to have that because
exactly
them. The people at the top are never going to, lower themselves, give themselves less power and influence and comfort. So they can't allow for any kind of interfaith mingling and stuff.
Yeah, and
Brethren Lee has a real hard-on for 1 Corinthians 14. Especially the part about women not speaking.
Yeah, I mean that was a lot of people refer to as like a potential addendum. We don't know that because again, we don't have the early arguments. But
we're abiding that right now on this stream. I mean, this is
anyway
peaceful and orderly, and no women.
Exactly. No women. We do not allow women to speak in this live stream whatsoever.
Christina yelled in the background once, but that
let's add the last thing onto the. We're gonna pretend that I have a slide for that, but I do have a video for that.
For who?
I made for my last point.
Oh, my hair.
The last core doctrine. It's loading a little bit. Anyway, before we move on to like this one, because it is loading. This is what makes Jehovah's Witnesses who they are. You could argue that they are trying to like they have never been more permissive with missing the meetings than they are right now, because now they are allowing people to attend the meetings through Zoom. And even then they're like, actually don't do that. We want you at the meetings. We want you physically at the meetings, because that's how we can exert the most amount of control. So I don't think Jehovah's Witnesses will ever, like, I don't know, rescind that level of control that they have over their followers.
Yeah, I don't foresee that happening.
Anyway, now I can share this. This is going to be our last core doctrine.
I know this.
You know that from the tie alone. I knew you were going to know this. I knew you were going to know this because you've used this, and I know you've used this.
James chapter 3, verse 17.
Yes,
helps us to find the answer. There we read that we need to be ready to obey. Now, the expression ready to obey is a translation of a Greek word that is mentioned only one time in the entire New World Translation, here at James 3:17. A person who is ready to obey is quick to change his opinion when he is presented with facts that correct his thinking. It is someone who is known for his willingness to get along with others. Now, interestingly, in the first century, the same Greek word was also used in a military setting. Bible scholars mention that Flavius Josephus, the Jewish historian, used that same word to describe obedient soldiers in the Roman army. In fact, Josephus wrote that one of the reasons why the Roman army was so successful was that the soldiers were well trained, ready to obey. Now, how does that apply to us? Well, of course, we do not use literal weapons as soldiers do. Still, there is a similarity between those Roman soldiers in the past and us today. We too have to be well trained and ready to obey. Why? Because the obedience that we develop today will help us to obey life-saving instructions that we will receive from God's organization in the future. When the nations attack us and the war of Armageddon follows, showing obedience will be our protection.
So that is the last thing that I wanted to show. The importance, the last core doctrine is the obedience to not just anybody, but to the governing body. That is like their most important part, because And we can tie that back to the name of Jehovah. Jehovah is a made-up name, and Jehovah's Witnesses use Jehovah to actually mean the governing body. That is who you have to obey. You have to obey whatever Jehovah says. And how do you know what Jehovah says? Because the governing body interprets it. So that is their main core doctrine that they cannot get rid of: obedience to the governing body. What would you say to a Jehovah's Witness who's like, but like, you have to obey people because the governing body, like, who will you obey? If I don't obey the governing body and I don't belong to somebody's to Jehovah's organization, who would I follow? What would you say to that?
Everybody. I don't know why I started the sentence with everybody. I'm going to start over.
Nobody. Yes.
Nobody ever has started a sentence quite like this. What did you ask me again? How to describe? Oh, like the kind of, to whom else would we go, Lord? That kind of thing. Like, well, okay. So this is very nerdy and pop culture specific. But you know, in the Avengers, how Loki, he gets his, scepter and everything, and he goes and has all these people bow before him, makes him kneel, and he goes, "Oh yes, is this not your natural state? You want to serve." Like, this desire to have some strong man control you, that's bad. That's what the bad guys do. People who want to boss people around and have them serve them and kneel to them like the governing body does. That's what supervillains do. That's not, that's not helpful at all to any Jehovah's Witness watching this. But that's like, that struck me when I was a witness. Like, I remember watching that and feeling a little bit uncomfortable because I was like, oh wait, but
we believe that though.
We believe Loki. We
believe Loki's right
to serve. But the capper of the scene is this old Jewish man stands up and he's like, no, I'm not going to kneel to you. He doesn't say that. And
was he Jewish? Like,
yeah,
I'm sorry, I don't see race. I'm very woke.
No, but that was the implication, because Loki is like, he says there are always men like you. There are always men like you who want to rule over others. And so I think that, I don't believe that God is real, but I don't believe that any God who is real and worth serving would want blind subservience, would allow people to die, millions of people to die every day, just for his own ego, so he can prove a point to Satan. I don't know.
And not only would a God not want that, but also God doesn't tell you to obey him through people. That's nowhere in the Bible. In the Bible, if anything, the Bible tells you to not follow people, to just read the Bible, and because other people will try to twist what the Bible says. So there's no basis for a Jehovah's Witness to be like, oh, it's just we have to follow the governing body, because you can't come up with a single scripture that says you have to follow humans. Not even like the closest you have is like people following Moses, I guess. And Moses had like superpowers, and that's the Mosaic law. And so, it just, if you had, like, come on, if you had superpowers, like, I would follow you, because like,
yeah,
of course. But
yeah, no, that's the thing. Like, they want that same level of trust.
Exactly.
But the thing that's really weird about the governing body too is, like, compared to the Mormons again, is like, the governing body doesn't claim to have direct conversations with Jesus. They say that Jesus is the leader of the congregation, but they don't claim to get direct revelations or direct communications with Jesus. And so their leadership is really tenuous. It's based around this faux humility, but it's really weird. Like, they compare themselves to Moses and the early apostles, but it's like, yeah, but they could perform miracles, and you guys can't. I don't know.
You guys aren't even inspired. you guys can't even fuck up.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, those are the 10 core doctrines of the Jehovah's Witnesses beliefs. And I wanted to just point out something. Let me just remove this, because this is like the grand reveal that we've been building up to. This was very important. All of these belonging only to Jehovah's organization, which is just, again, a superiority belief. Their belief of preaching, the no worldly celebrations. I know that putting you like no blood, their homophobia, their anti-hell thing, but they actually believe in genocide, which is worse. Their belief of new light, their anti-Trinity status, and even the odd belief of Jesus dying in a pole and not a cross. All of those, not only are they all anti-biblical, not only are they all core beliefs of the Jehovah's Witnesses, but they are what makes Jehovah's Witnesses a cult. Which is why I contend that, when you hear people say, oh, this is the end of the Jehovah's Witness religion, because this is how the Jehovah's Witness religion are just going to become a normal religion. They would have to get rid of all of these. And I would argue that even getting rid of a couple would make the religion implode. They cannot exist without just a couple of this. And they would have to get rid of all of these, so they wouldn't be a cult anymore. What do you think? Can they get rid of all of these? Is there, do I have a point? Because I know that this is going to be like someone controversial, saying that Jehovah's Witnesses cannot like regress and then just become like a normal religion. Do you believe that Jehovah's Witnesses can become? Am I onto something, or what?
No, there's no. Okay, like, it's one thing that comes up sometimes in the ex-Mormon community is people who are interested in being like secular Mormons or keep traditions or something. And there are like cultural Catholics. There are people who just find value in the tradition. But there's nothing to Jehovah's Witnesses without the aspects that make it a cult. Like the things that are like the only reason why you do it is because you're right. You have the only correct interpretation of the Bible, and you have to rigidly adhere to it, and you have to be different from everybody else, and all that stuff. Like, there's no traditions within it that can't be replicated outside of it. Like, you can go to conventions or meets with your friends, you can read the Bible, and you can just believe in Jehovah. And hell, you can go and knock on anybody's door you want to if you feel like it. Like, but there's no reason why anyone would join if they didn't claim to have exclusive truth, and if they didn't scare you about Armageddon and say that it's coming really soon. Like, that's the only reason that the religion can exist. And so without that stuff, there's nothing left.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I feel like, because I do think about that, because it's normal to think about, will the Jehovah's Witness, how will the end of the Jehovah's Witness come? Because everything has an end. Like, even if you believe that the Jehovah's Witnesses, will be here for a long time, everything has an end, and everything's gonna end sometimes. The Jehovah's Witnesses are also like a part of that. So how will it come through? Like, would it be that it just becomes like a normal religion? And a lot of people have said that that's how it's gonna happen. But the more that I think about it, the more I believe that it's impossible that the Jehovah's Witnesses become a normal religion. I can't, and it's important because it affects, I don't know if you would agree with me, but it affects the kind of videos that I do, and the kind of policies that I want to see forward, and all that stuff. Because, like, if you don't believe that there's like a redemption for this religion, shall we say, then your moves are going to be different than if you believe, oh no, it's just, they just have to get rid of a couple of damaging things, and then they're good.
Yeah, no, that's true. I definitely think that, like, pushing for harm reduction reforms are good. Like, tightening up,
of course,
child sexual abuse laws and stuff, and sanctioning them and defunding them because of their shunning or any number of things, because that's better for people in the group too. Like, it would be good if and this is my standpoint, I have absolutely, people just say it's a platitude, oh, you have to respect their beliefs. I have absolutely no respect for the blood belief. It causes people to die unnecessarily based on magical thinking. It's absurd. It doesn't even make sense by Witness's own logic. And I think that if it was possible to make it illegal, then good, because that would save lives. But I think that's all you can do. I don't think you could like change the like Armageddon stuff and the fear mongering stuff. It also kind of depends on what you mean by a normal religion, because like I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the one thing that, and it's something that I have to like contend with sometimes. The one thing that I feel like I may have become like a worse person after leaving the Jehovah's Witness is that now I have like less tolerance for religions, because before I was like, well, I mean, I am in this weird religion, so I must like tolerate other religions, right? If anything, I was a weird, it's not like the Jehovah's Witness standard, but that's how I felt. But now I'm like, no, it's just religion is the worst. It can't be saved. There's nothing there that I wanna, you know. I'm not, you know, disrespectful or anything. Of course, I'm respectful with religion, but I don't see the merit of religion anymore.
I don't think. First of all, I don't think it's inherently virtuous to like love religion. You know, that's not a value that's worth it.
I mean, I think it shouldn't exist. So, you know, I don't know.
Yeah,
Is that less virtuous? Some religious people would argue that's less virtuous.
Well, I think that the point that I guess I would make is like, yeah, I don't have any real respect for like, I wouldn't say religion. I don't think I have an issue with the idea of religion in general, because I don't think you can really get rid of religion without instigating thought crime. You know, you can't control what kind of magical things people are going to believe, and you can't control when people are going to meet together and talk about those things that they believe. And you know, I don't think you can really do that, but I think you can try and make them less harmful. But I also think it's kind of, like Witnesses say that, oh, we respect people of every religion. It's like, no, you don't. You think that they're all wrong and blasphemous and that they're going to be destroyed in Armageddon.
That is true.
And you think that they deserve it. And that's not, and like,
Yes.
I think that you and I would probably both reject that and say like, no, I think that I wish that those religions would not do harm anymore, but we don't want to see everybody in the churches explode in a fireball in Armageddon. Speaking for myself, I guess.
Yeah, it just, I don't know. It just, I think about this a lot because I think about how, like, what we can do to like get rid of the bad influence, I would say, of Jehovah's Witnesses. I'm sorry, I'm just putting like a white screen on the TV so I can, there you go, so I have a little bit of light. So it's just, I feel like Jehovah's Witnesses will never, there's no saving Jehovah's Witnesses. The only thing we can do is just try to systematically go through the damaging parts and then legislate against it. So we get rid of that, starting with the thought of Jehovah's Witnesses being a charity. They shouldn't be treated as a charity because they're not a charity.
Right.
So they should start paying taxes, and they shouldn't be able to shunt. They shouldn't be able to do all of these damaging things. And I think all of these things kind of prove that if you just examine their core beliefs and what they really believe in, you realize that it's a cult, and there's no removing the cult powder of the cult. Just get like a religion, because there's no religion in there anymore. I would say. Yeah,
that's all it is. I think, I don't know, in a way it's, well, no, I won't get into a whole political thing. I gotta eat something.
Anyway, let's just, before we leave, thank you so much for joining me. I just wanted to mention a comment that I didn't mention, but I did see, and I don't, you don't have to comment on this, But Big LEB says, way off topic, but did anyone see Lloyd's stand-up compilation? Am I crazy, or did he actually say he was sexually attracted to whales, dolphins, and dogs? Now, I don't want to say anything bad about Lloyd anymore in this channel, right? Because Lloyd, you know, I feel like Lloyd is just he's not even relevant anymore. Like it's not even, I don't know, like he's not damaging anybody anymore. As far as we know, I don't want to say anything bad about Lloyd. I know that I've made videos about it. I'm just gonna say, if anything, I'm gonna recommend that stand-up compilation. He just posted this stand-up compilation on YouTube. As soon as it's done, please go watch it. I told you to watch it because it is the most cringe thing I have ever seen. Like better than The Office. Like The Office has never been able to like pull this off. I was
not
so
a real
excited.
documentary.
I stopped everything and I just played it. It helped with my depression. It was amazing. Please watch it. I don't want to say anything bad about Lloyd. Please watch that video. Please. That was the most joy I've ever gotten from a Lloyd video.
I haven't watched it. I cannot comment on its quality.
You should watch it. It's insane.
I refuse. I refuse. Profusely.
She's just coming over. Anyway, yeah, I think we just round it up. What do you have any closing thoughts about like this? We're just gonna show the pup.
Oh,
do you have any closing thoughts about these like the Jehovah's Witnesses core doctrines, the beliefs, anything that you wanna add, anything you want to plug in my smaller channel? So obviously you take this advantage to plug something.
This self-depreciation is very unappealing. I would never resort to that kind of thing on my channel, certainly. No, nothing to plug. This was a really fun discussion. I hadn't really thought about just kind of the basic beliefs in a while, and it is kind of weird how what's the like based on semantics, it is like no, it's not a cross.
Yes.
Pole, and like no, Jesus wasn't really born on that day, actually, and actually, it's hell means the grave, and it's not even real. Like everything is kind of this contrarian. People wonder why I am the way that I am. It's because I was raised a Jehovah's Witness. I am naturally persnickety, nitpicky, and contrarian, focused on irrelevant details, being very dogmatic about them. Yep.
Yeah. No, I think that's at the core of Jehovah's Witnesses beliefs. Like it's just they're extremely dogmatic, they're extremely unbiblical, and they're just like sometimes they just feel like contrarian for the sake of it. Like we're not gonna celebrate any holidays because that's what pagan people do, and we're not pagan people. It just feels like that. Beards were the same thing. It was just a contrarian thing. So
it is for the sake of it, I think.
However, and this is something that I just thought of. All of these core beliefs are pretty old, and I feel like the fact that they haven't come up with like a new core belief in a while kind of signifies that Jehovah's Witnesses just don't got it anymore.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, the beard thing is the closest it comes.
Yes,
it's purely aesthetic. It's like totally
exactly
visual. It doesn't really change anything. It feels like a big deal, but you're right. I think it's just also hypocritical, like we talked about earlier. Like now they're mired in tradition. They're not going to change things just because that's the way that they do it, and that's their brand, and whatever. Like it's the same thing. I think Ray Franz's book In Search of Christian Freedom is really good because it just talks about the kind of cycle of religions spinning out of control and inevitably becoming the thing that they hate,
Yeah, like this dogmatic force. Yeah. Anyway, I think we can wrap it up like that. Thank you so much for joining me to check like these 10 core beliefs and how that makes them, Jesus Christ, Pee-wee, how that makes them a cult, and how how they're completely unbiblical and all that stuff. I've been wanting to say to go through these because even though they're very basic, I feel like we can learn a lot about Jehovah's Witnesses, who they are, where they're going, and why they can't be safe, basically. So thank you so much. But please guys, be on the lookout for Jake's video about JW broadcasting, because he's been working on it for a long time, and he's been edging me with it. He's like 2 weeks ago, he's like, I'm just gonna make a quick and easy edit on it so I can have it in a couple of days. And since then, I just been looking for it.
I know. I am going to make sure it's the whole broadcast, though. I was just going to do a video on the first half of it, but now it's taken so long that it would be so disappointing if it was just about part of it. So
yeah,
it's coming along nice.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much. Remember to subscribe and remember to, I don't know, how do I usually end?